Welcome back everyone. As most of you guys already know, the Xbox Series X and the Series S just came out, and fortunately for me I was able to get both. I tried to get the PlayStation 5s, I was not able to get them, which I'm really upset about. But one thing I loved about the Xboxes was it was just so much easier to buy first of all. So if you're in the market and you're trying to get an Xbox Series X or Series S, you may actually find it easier to pick up either one of these than picking up a PlayStation 5 in my opinion. But let's go ahead and do a full comparison as much as I can between these two consoles. Now I will tell you, whether you pick up the Series X or the Series S, both these consoles are great. I don't think one is, 100 times worse than the other one. Obviously, if you have more money to spend, if you have all the money in the world, get the Xbox Series X. That is going to be the more capable console. You're getting the disc slot, a more powerful machine. But I still think for the price tag, the Xbox Series S, for people who maybe don't want to get the Series X because of the price, or maybe because of the availability, maybe you can only find a Series S and you don't know whether you should, wait a little bit and get the Series X later on. I'll go ahead and try to break down those scenarios hopefully by this video. Now pricing wise, the Xbox Series X brand new retail price was $499. The Xbox Series S is $299. So substantially cheaper than the Series X. I mean, it's $200 cheaper than it, but you are missing out on a couple of things. But I will tell you, like I said, with availability standpoint, if the Series S is the only one you can get, then it's still a very capable machine. I mean, it's going to be better than a lot of consoles out there. If you're currently owning an Xbox 360 or something like that, or even the original One or One S, going to the Xbox Series S is going to be a worthwhile upgrade in my opinion. Now, I want to say something that just may not be logical to, me, but hopefully it makes sense to you guys, because when I handle all these consoles, right, and I look back to even the Xbox 360 or even the Xbox One, I think I've reviewed all the Xboxes so far. And when I was reviewing the 360 lineup, the 360 original one, the 360 Elite, which I don't think I reviewed that one, but the 360S, the Slim, and even though the Xbox 360S or whichever other ones they had, those consoles came out after the original Xbox 360, I don't necessarily look at those newer Xbox 360 and the 360E and, say to myself, oh, that's like a way better version of the 360. I just kind of group all the 360s together and I'm like, those are kind of older consoles. They're still capable, but I would probably recommend upgrading. In this case, it's kind of the same thing. Right now, it seems like there's a huge difference or something, but I feel like, a couple of years from now, all these consoles are going to start blending together, and once we have the successors to these, I think people are going to look back at these consoles and still say to themselves, like, the Series S was pretty much, almost as capable as the Series X in some areas, but there's some areas where the Series X just blows it by, and that's definitely in the design. You have pretty much the same port selection on both consoles. You have the HDMI port on the back, 2 USB ports, the Ethernet port, as well as the front USB cable on the front, and that's really pretty much all the ports you have. The original consoles, or at least the Xbox Ones, they had dual HDMI cords on the back, which I really liked. I don't know why they took that away, but I guess it is what it is. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But the biggest advantage that the Xbox Series X has over the Series S, in my opinion, would definitely be that disc slot. That is something that maybe a lot of people may not care about currently, but if you already have a huge selection of Xbox One games that you have, a disc slot may actually do you wonders, and it could probably save you money because you may not have to go and re-download all your games from the Microsoft Store in some cases. Now, I think for a majority of people out there, they already bought a lot of their games, through the Microsoft Store, especially games like Fortnite and Apex and all those other games. I'm sure you can still get them to the Microsoft Store, but I would say it's still pretty important to have that disc slot. And with the Series X, you're not just only buying the disc slot, but you're buying a ton more. You're getting a more capable console for 100% fact with that specific upgrade. And that disc slot, you're getting that Blu-ray, you're getting backwards compatibility for both consoles, but you're getting that disc capability, which that in and of itself, I think would probably cover a lot of the expense between going from the Series S to the Series X, just from people who already have a huge selection of Xbox games at their, possession. So that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Again, if you're just buying a brand new console right now and you have no Xbox games whatsoever, then maybe the disc slot may not even be a big deal to you, honestly. But then again, if you want to buy, used games in the future, it will be easier and, cheaper to buy used Xbox Series X games, Xbox One games in the future in disc form, rather than having to buy brand new games every time. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Again, it's not a deal breaker if you're just playing a bunch of free games and you're just, doing the Game Pass and all that, then I guess it's okay, but that's still something to keep in mind. So that kind of covers it up, and probably the biggest differentiating factor, in my opinion, in terms of the outside and the exterior, besides the Xbox Series S being much, much smaller and it being like less than half the size and the weight of the Series X, that could be a big big deal to you too, but considering it's just sitting on a table or a desk all day, I don't think people really care about it. Now, you have pretty much the same resolutions that I think both these things can output to. I think the Series X can eventually do 4K at 120 frames, but I don't think it can do it right now. You will be able to do 8K in the future on both consoles, and both are going to be great. I think they're both going to be very capable. As long as you have a TV that supports it, then you're going to be perfectly fine. So I think in terms of the output, you're probably getting better output from the Series X, but again, if you have a 720p TV, it's not really going to matter because you're only going to be maxed out at 720p. So you definitely want to make sure you have your bases covered in terms of that sense. So get a more capable TV if you're trying to output in like 8K in the future or whatever. Now, going and moving on to one of the more fascinating aspects, which is definitely the performance side. From what I've seen and from what I've heard, the Xbox Series X is going to be the most capable Xbox, obviously, and it's going to be way more capable than the Series S. Now inside of the Series X, you're getting 8 cores at 3.5 GHz, but on the S, you're getting an 8 core at 1.56 GHz apparently. Now, numbers, range a lot, so I'm going to say it's probably around this ballpark. The Series X is going to be way more performance heavy and just way more capable of a machine than the Xbox Series S. Now, also on top of that, you're getting an additional 6 gigabytes of RAM on the X than you are getting on the S. So the X has 16 gigabytes of RAM, the Xbox Series S has 10 gigabytes of RAM. So that's another big differentiating factor between them. Now, if you're in the market and you don't care about the performance and longevity, then I guess the Series S is perfectly fine. But if you are not on a budget and you can make it work, then just based on these numbers alone, it might just be, advantageous for you to go up to the Series X. And that's not even considering the fact that the Xbox Series X has twice the built-in SSD storage on the Series X than it does on the Series S. You're getting 512 gigabytes on the Xbox Series S built-in, but on the Series X, you're getting a terabyte built-in on SSD. So that's another big thing, and again, it may not be a big deal. For me personally, I'm not even a gamer. I don't even play video games or anything, but if I was somebody who was constantly playing games and stuff, I would probably try to make it work and try to find a Series X in some way and fashion. But the Series S, for being $299 and for being as performance heavy as I've been messing with the last couple of days and all that stuff, it's an impressive machine at that price tag. $499 is kind of pushing it for some people, but $299 is way more affordable, and that is a humongous asset for that specific console. So I think that in and of itself is very, very awesome for the Series S, and it's kind of like a given. Like, yes, the Series X is going to be a more better machine, it's going to be more capable, but you're spending more money on it. The Series S is a really good value per dollar as well. Now, gaming library and the games you're going to be able to play on both, it's going to be exactly the same for the time being. There's not really any game that's going to be only exclusive to the Series X or the Series S. Both of these are going to be able to play both gaming catalogs. I mean, you even look at the Xbox One and the One S and the One X. All those consoles were able to play pretty much the same exact games, even though the One S was way cheaper than the One X. It's pretty much the same thing in this case. The Series X is going to be able to play those games faster, less glitches, less lags. Load times are going to be probably faster, I would assume, on the Series X, but the Series S is still going to be super impressive, and it mostly has to come down to the SSD. With SSDs built in on both, coming from the hard drives on the previous models, that in and of itself is a pretty big upgrade going from one model to the other. Now, the controllers are exactly the same on both as well. They're both, one is black on the Series X, one is white on the Series S. So if you like the black one, but you can buy them online on the Microsoft Store later on too. So it's not really like a crazy big deal, but again, it's something to kind of consider. So what I can tell you is, and to kind of sum up this whole entire video, I definitely do think the Xbox Series X is a better console. That's just a given, right? But if you're in the situation where you can find a Series S for cheaper, which is probably going to be everywhere, or you only have a Series S available, you don't know if it's worth it to go up to a Series X and spend some more money, I will tell you, if you aren't in a rush to go and get a Series S, I would probably tell you to wait for it. You know what I mean? I would tell you to wait for a Series X and kind of weigh your options there. Pretty much the Series S is going to be about like 80% capable. It's going to be about 80% of the console that the Series X is. You're just missing out on, the faster CPU, twice the amount of SSD, 6 more gigabytes of RAM, and that disc slot. Those are the main advantages for the Xbox Series X. But if you're totally okay with not having a disc slot, I feel like that's the biggest differentiating factor. If you're okay with not having that, and you're okay with, maybe sometimes it being a little bit slower here and there than, other consoles, then you're going to be perfectly fine with it. And in some cases, that couple $100 $100 you can save may actually add up. And I think in the future, honestly, like these things are probably going to be available a lot more places within probably like 6-7 months from now. So if you can even hold out to that long, you may be able to find these just, sitting on a Best Buy shelf or something. I don't know, maybe not, but you may just be able to see these things just, available everywhere. And if you go right now and try to buy one of these things, like if you try to buy a Series S on eBay, they are selling for like $600-$700. So if you're one of those people who are currently trying to buy one of those, I would probably tell you to wait, unless you're in a dire need to pick one up right now. Waiting is probably the best way to go to save the most amount of money, because you could just buy an Xbox Series X for $499, which is cheaper than what these Series S's are selling for. But in a way, I actually do think the Xbox Series X is the better value per dollar. For $499, you're getting an extremely good console that's going to last you for many, many years. You're getting that disc slot, which is huge in my opinion. You're getting the 8K capability on both, but you're getting a faster CPU, you're getting a faster console, a better console that has, backwards compatibility, just like the Series S, but you're getting that disc slot, which is huge. You're getting that additional RAM. You're getting a lot of more of a console on the Series X than the Series S. So, but I definitely do think the Series S is still good enough for the most part, and it's definitely not a bad console. But like I said, it's about 80% of what the Series X is, in my opinion. So that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.